Welcome to Alberni Thrive. My name's Alicia LaRue.
And I'm Eric Plummer.
And today we will be discussing marketing, branding, Port Alberni to Canada, to the rest of the world, looking at some of the initiatives in the past, but also some of them in the future. I find it's a really exciting time to be part of Port Alberni. Lots of really neat things happening right now.
There's this critical period that Port Alberni is going through right now where it's trying to rediscover itself. And there's a lot of discussion about what works for Port Alberni, what's great about Port Alberni, what needs to be changed in Port Alberni.
So I'm really excited about today's show, branding, marketing. A lot of opinions about the show, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about marketing Port Alberni and selling its brand to the world outside of the valley, beyond Cathedral Grove. A figure that's often discussed is that there's about 1 million people that travel on Highway 4 westbound through Port Alberni every year, headed to the Vancouver Island's west coast and Tofino. Yet only a small fraction of those people actually stop in Port Alberni to enjoy the attractions that we have here. Today we're lucky to have some local people that have no shortage of ideas about this issue. We're joined by Pat Deacon, the city's Economic Development Manager, Kama Money, a local teacher and an active online advocate for the community, and Aaron Vicia, a local business owner and lifelong Port Alberni resident. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Pat, what initiatives are underway right now to raise Port Alberni's profile as a destination?
Well, before I jump into that, I do want to congratulate you on getting this forum up and running. I think it's a wonderful evolution from print to video, and I'm really glad to see it. So with that, so the initiatives that are underway, some are sector specific and others are more broadly based. So take an example. We have been marketing to the investment community through publications that are put out by the BC Economic Development Association and private sector interests. So we plug into that with ads and commentary, and the agriculture sector, we've gone to specific agriculture magazines that we know are widely viewed on Vancouver Island and the Lower Mainland. We've targeted seniors, so Seniors Living, we've been running a series of ads in there, and ads allow us an opportunity usually to write an article for the business community. We've tended to focus on the Business Examiner, which is distributed across Vancouver Island. And then when it comes to tourism, we normally work with Alberni Valley Tourism, which is a voluntary group that of hotel owners who contribute somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000 each year to the marketing of Port Alberni. And normally what we would do is work with them, and if they have an initiative that they want to invest in, whether it's a magazine or a brochure or a TV show, we will usually partner with them. We view them as some of the experts in the community on tourism, but we also turn to tourism providers, McLean Mill, Lady Rose Marine Group, some of the bigger outfits in the community, and ask what we could do.
Nice. So lots of really cool things going on then, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And we
So
haven't
then-
touched social media.
Oh, that's what that's what I'm
Yeah,
gonna ask the next
good.
question, right? Social media. So Kama, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
You are kind of like the social media queen of Port Alberni. Let us know some of your numbers and what exactly you use social media.
For sure. So I'm very lucky to be part of a team. There's no I in team, there's strength in numbers. So Ben West, owner of Event Base and Intergalactic, actually is our mentor. And so he had a contest and for the worst place to live, which I'm sure we'll touch on later, and paid for a UBC Foundations of Fundamentals of Social Media program for myself and Tasha Potter, owner of Great Central Social Media Company. And together we launched July 1st, 2014. And since then, we're really proud to say that we have well over 15,000 Facebook likes for
Nice.
Port Alberni.
Wow.
And yeah, and
great.
an international reach of, up to 2 million people, or an international audience each week. And so it's a really cool opportunity for us to, try to change the narrative about who Port Alberni is, kind of to rebuild pride of place for locals, and also to kind of change the reputation from the worst place to live to heart of Vancouver Island. And Ben has done some amazing drone videos, which we're really proud of. And there's some really exciting movements forward. Cloud City is actually going to be launching a t-shirt and clothing line, Heart of Vancouver Island branded.
We all keep talking about Port Alberni. I've been thinking about this for many years and actually even did some Shaw cable stories in the past about branding Port Alberni. But I don't think we're really encompassing what we really have in our surrounding areas. I don't think we are Port Alberni. I think we are the Alberni Valley. Sprout Lake is not Port Alberni. Cherry Creek, Beaver Creek, Mount Arrowsmith is not Port Alberni. It's on the outskirts. Della Falls, largest falls in Canada. Why aren't we bragging about that? It's not in Port Alberni, it's in the Alberni Valley, or just on the outskirts of. So I really think that we've got to figure out what we really are, and maybe what we should call ourselves, because Port Alberni has the reputation of, and I hate to say it again, but Port Alberni stinky mill town. And selling ourselves as the cheapest place to buy a home isn't really portraying what we have here. We have $1 million homes surrounding a lake. We have, beauty beyond what we've all discovered. I really think that changing the image maybe starts with a bit of a name change.
So now what you would put forward is that no more branding Port Alberni and just brand Alberni Valley
I would
as a
think
whole?
that encompasses all. But branding is not just doing a fancy logo and having print media and social media and putting all that together. And it doesn't necessarily send the message. Branding is about relationships. It's about bringing everybody together with a common interest and getting the relationships of everybody excited about what we're actually doing and moving forward that way. I personally have been going through some branding changes, which isn't complete yet, so I won't talk a lot about it, but it's a difficult thing to do even for a small business. So somehow we have to get this whole valley, Alberni Valley, excited about branding and what we are and how we want the world to see us.
On the topic of branding, I understand there's an initiative that's been happening for, I think, more than a year right now with the city. Pat, do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Sure. I asked council's approval to move ahead with a rebranding initiative because we've kind of been all over the map in years past. Our taglines have been Salmon Capital of the World, Ultimate Fishing Town, and then Bear Tracks and Lumberjacks. And none of those, I think, really speak to the current traveler, nor do I think they speak to the group that we're seeking to attract to come to the community, whether it be millennials or seniors, that kind of thing. So council said, yep, go ahead with this. So we've been taking our time with it, as you know. And one of the things that we did was an online survey. And we also made it available offline because we know that not everybody can access the internet. And we had 943 responses. And what people in the community told us is the way they differentiate Port Alberni from, or the Alberni Valley if you like, from any other community on Vancouver Island is through water. And when you look at that and say, okay, well, most communities have water, but we've got salt water with the inlet. We've got large lakes completely surrounding us. We've got British Columbia's second most important salmon river. And when people talked about what do they do in their free time or where do they take visitors to, it's things like Sprout Lake or Stamp Falls or now Hole in the Wall or Fossilly Park or some of the others, Canal Beach. So we are taking a harder look at that. I started the exercise for economic development purposes, not just tourism. But it's obvious to us that people often come to a community as a visitor first. So we're taking a look at that.
Yeah, that's very true. And also word of mouth as well. Yeah, yeah. Through different branding techniques, which Facebook too, and social media. You know, what's your take on this, Kama, as far as branding? Would you say that branding the Alberni Valley is a better bet, or Port Alberni, or
right in between
no?
them.
I know, like that's
okay.
just it.
It's
It's
Well, I think it depends on again who's sponsoring the initiative, because I mean Pat's working with the city of Port Alberni, so maybe we need to have a city brand that works in partnership with the broader Alberni Valley brand, maybe.
Yeah.
And Thomas King, one of my favorite authors, said the truth about stories is that's all we are. And so I mean the truth about branding and the stories we tell about ourselves, that's how we construct our own reality, and that's how we how locals feel so proud to be from somewhere that they can't help shouting about how awesome Port Alberni is on Facebook or over the old-fashioned telephone or face-to-face with their friends. And I really do feel that, or hope that whatever brand we come up with, is unified, everybody's on board, we can have a cohesive identity, because I do feel that our identity has been scattered for many years. We don't know who we are.
Yeah.
And before we know who we are, how can we, begin to promote ourselves and move forward? If we don't have a goal, how do we know where we're going?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm really excited, that the conversations have gotten started. And, in the 2 years that we've been doing the social media thing, how many cool things, including Alberni Thrive, have happened.
Oh, exactly. Like Alberni Thrive, we wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for social media. Yeah. So that was a huge undertaking that got us where we are. And the beauty of it is that it's the world is at your fingertips.
And when you were in high school, did you even know that?
Oh no, I
didn't.
didn't. I had no idea.
I
had no idea. But anyways, great with that. But
Alicia,
actually,
you haven't been here for very long, correct?
No, I haven't.
So what is going to bring more people like you who are going to make our community grow get you here? What would get you excited? Like, you're excited to be here now.
Oh, I love it. You know what? To me, I love the community. There's so much going on in this town, and I would say to brand more people like me would be. Before you're going to sell something, I think that we, as Port Alberni, we need to up the positivity. Yes. And I know that a lot of us are, definitely, there's tons of us here that are just movers and shakers. But, we kind of need to give that to other people to realize, hey, you guys, you know what? We live in a really awesome place. We live in the heart of Vancouver Island.
The camera's right. We need to set a goal. That needs to be the first thing done, and follow the goal and get everybody excited about that.
For
goal.
sure. Yeah. But
I don't know if there's a community, Port Alberni, the community with a heart. I don't know if there's a community that's comparable with how much pride of place we have, and the amazing people that we have. People is our biggest asset here.
Yeah, and location too. But thank you so much for. We're gonna cut to break right now, so you guys at home, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, welcome back to Alberni Thrive. Today we're having a discussion about marketing Port Alberni and selling its brand to the outside world. There was a mention just a minute ago about the value of positivity for our community and selling our community. On that topic, Port Alberni's taken quite a beating recently from Money Sense magazine with some rankings in recent years. Last year, it came in 207th out of 209 cities in Canada in its list of the best places to live in Canada. In 2014, it was dead last at 201st. For me, as someone who lives here, it's strange seeing something like this. But at the same time, they're saying that this is based on data, a combination of crime rates, unemployment, weather patterns. What do we do with something like this?
So there's a number of things we are doing. One is that there are at last count, there are 4 criteria where our data on the measures are different from theirs. So we're working we're in communication with their sources of data to see if we can bring about some rationalization of the difference between ours and theirs. That's one thing. The other thing is recently we've started looking at humor as a better tool. You mentioned rain. And that's part of our image. We're a rainy winter town. And so let's acknowledge that, but look at what the rain gives us as well. I mean, pivot on that. Randy Hanna, the owner of Pacific Seaplanes, who's now flying in and out of Port Alberni on a daily basis, said that they are astonished at the number of lakes in the mountains around Port Alberni, absolutely astonished, and that the passengers that they're taking up are also going, had no idea. So we see what we see, and there's a lot that we don't. So let's take a look at that. Another image that the community has, Aaron touched on it earlier, we're a mill town. Yeah, we are a mill town. So the way I'd like to...
But we're not necessarily a mill town. Like, I mean, we are, definitely, it's part of the history for sure. But, I mean, the biggest employer of Port Alberni is VIHA. Like, I'm sorry, but, you know, even just saying that we're a mill town, like, yes, we have a mill, but, you know, we're so much more than a mill town. Sorry to interrupt you on that one, but I had to kind of be like, well, you know.
Yeah, so, and the reason I want to acknowledge that is because when we ask people what their concerns are about moving to Port Alberni or visiting Port Alberni, Milltown comes up really frequently. So
as a positive or a negative?
As a negative, yeah. So let's address it head on and with humor. And you know, yes, we're a mill town. We've got a paper mill, we've got sawmills. We're really grateful for the employment and the contribution to the tax base. And oh, by the way, we've got a rumor mill as well. And you know what?
Is that AV chatter?
But beyond that, our mill rate on Vancouver Island is the lowest among the communities with the kinds of services, including a hospital, that we have. So pivot on that. And by the way, sell your house in Vancouver. You're a millionaire. Move here, buy outright, and you'll have lots left over to either play, fill your bucket list, start a business, or just enjoy life. So address them head on with humor and move that way.
Yeah.
Kemma, what are your thoughts on the Money Sense rankings? There's another one that's going to come out this summer.
Kemma Money does not like Money Sense rankings. And, you know, I do teach, you know, knee deep in, you know, the trenches of poverty and, you know, some of the barriers we have in our community. So I'm absolutely not naive to our challenges. But that said, you know, it's so empowering and exciting to be part of, you know, the rebranding of Port Alberni and the changing of Port Alberni, moving it forward. And I mean, the opportunities for, you know, young entrepreneurs, young professional families to afford to live here, and, you know, telecommuters. In this day and age, you know, you really can use the internet and Skype, and you can go down to the Harbour Quay, fly to Vancouver for a few face-to-face meetings a month and come back. You know, the quality of life here really is, you know, second to none. And I cannot stress, you know, I'm a, you know, single working, you know, professional mom, and I can afford to own my own home here. And how cool is that?
Yeah, for sure.
Aaron, what do you think of Money Sense?
I think Pat's right. Humor is a good way to go. I think we should laugh at this Money Sense, because is it really about the money in Port Alberni? Or is it really about what the rest of us really know, lifestyle, what it's all about here in Port Alberni? It's not about the money, it's about the relationships in this community. It's about what we have to offer in the surrounding areas. I can go into just about any store in this town, forget my wallet, get what I need and pay them later. That's community.
Yes.
That's tightness of a community and relationships. So
Yeah.
I think we can just shrug that off and show them what we really
What do
have
they know?
and
Yeah,
what do
yeah,
they know.
exactly.
Who wrote that anyways? What what does he know?
I know what's his idea of the best, like the best place to live is what,
Exactly.
having a big car and having to drive 4 hours to get to work and getting home and having to,
Live
eat
in a
fast
smog.
food, and his wife's like, "What are you doing home? I haven't seen you all day," and his kids, they haven't seen him forever. They're
There
stuck
you
on
go.
the,
We should write about him maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So if that's the best place to live, this is the worst place to live if you don't like your family.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Sorry.
You just mentioned car and commute.
Yeah.
Actually, one of their criteria is the number of new vehicles in the community. And we laugh at that because we know there are more classic cars in this community per capita than any other community, I would say, in Canada. And the value of those classic cars are often in excess of a new vehicle. Most everybody also has a truck, so they can get out into the bush, enjoy the valley, access the other areas. So, we look at that and we laugh. And
Something that always surprises me when I talk to people who don't live here is that they've never really explored Port Alberni. They've just passed right through. How do we get these people to stop here and to take in some of the beautiful sights that we have?
Who wants to go?
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, it's again setting that goal and figuring out how we want to make our image look. We've got to somehow express what we really, really have here. And I think we first have to ask ourselves, looking back, there was a population in 1912 in Port Alberni of about 17,000 people. Wow. It hasn't changed a whole lot. So do we want that to change? Do we want to see growth? We need more people, right? So we somehow have to create industry or some sort of jobs, maybe remanufacturing of lumber that is left on the side and making furniture or whatever we need to do to get more people attracted to Port Alberni. So, people aren't going to move if there's no jobs. And I think that's probably one of our bigger struggles is
But at the
decent
same time,
paying
though,
jobs.
it's the struggle here. But look at Nanaimo. There's a lot of cities that are feeling those challenges of we need to have the jobs, but at the same time, as Camo was saying, is there's a lot of people that are in transient that can work from just about anywhere. Or also, as Pat was saying, there's a lot of people who could sell out their $1 million home and buy here and start up a little small business that they've always wanted to do.
Yeah, there's way more entrepreneurial people nowadays too, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that the current council is doing by way of getting at your question of how do we get them to stop is focusing resources on Johnson Road. And it's let's improve the curbside appeal of our living room, if you will, or our front door, if you will. So there are resources going into making Johnson Road more attractive and putting up programs that will assist business owners in doing that.
I agree with you, but at the same time, so you open them up to your door, but yet they walk in, and then there's 3rd Avenue that's been put to the side. So that's all I'm saying as far as my critique on that is definitely, put money into cleaning up the front door as far as Johnson
I wouldn't
goes.
say
But
third's put onto the side.
no,
I think
okay,
business has an evolution.
Yes.
And it's a cycle.
Yeah.
And what's happened on Third was thriving if you go back in the 70s. My goodness, it was busy. There was all the old cars driving up down.
Yeah.
Third was the place to be. It's evolved to Johnson. The new malls, the Walmarts, the whatever, they're all on Johnson now. So what Pat's saying is that is our red carpet.
Yeah.
So if we make our red carpet look a little bit better, they might actually go,
they'll be
we should
pulled
check
over.
the rest of this place out.
That's true.
And then it may stimulate back to Third because
Yeah.
Third's going to grow again one day. It's just something's got to happen
tons
to
of
make
opportunity
it work.
for sure.
And I'm glad that this has been brought up because, Port Alberni literally used to be 2 municipalities,
Yeah.
Alberni and Port Alberni. And I think one of our biggest challenges is how to kind of create a unified community or town, city, when we literally have two downtowns or two uptowns.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited, by some of the developments at, the Somas Strip between Fisherman's Harbor and Somas Mill, Canal Beach. I'd love to see the clock tower rebuilt. If I could put a wish in, I'd love to see that refaced and kind of rebuilt so it looks really nice. And, and give people more incentive to go explore. And I was really excited, I don't know if it's official, but kind of the renaming of Gertrude, 3rd and Stamp. So there's one cohesive street with a single name.
Makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
So, and as Aaron points out, we're not abandoning the uptown by any stretch. I was at a meeting of the Rotary Arts District initiative last night, and I'm really excited by what the partners in that initiative are doing and how we're working. The city and the Port Authority are working together. I mean, we've really put a lot of resources into Harbor Key and the lower Argyle area, the work that's going on there, the new Uchucklesset building. These are all things that are starting to pull people up this way.
And that's exciting, it's all about pulling people together and being, again, positive about this beautiful place that we live. With that at hand, thank you guys so much for being our guests.
It's been... Continue.
Yes, definitely. And you know what, we can easily do another show on this because I think that this is something that, a lot of people have, they're passionate about, and it is that being unified that and excited about what we're branding to really move forward.
And an important portion of this conversation is what each of you think about the issues that have been brought up today. So we want to hear about those, and you can write to us at albernithrive.com with your comments.
Okay, till next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.